In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of all MK Ultra files, but he missed some. What they revealed was so disturbing that even today, decades later, the full truth remains locked away in classified vaults. What you're about to discover are government programs so secret, so controversial, that even after partial declassification, entire sections remain redacted. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented operations with paper trails, whistleblowers, and evidence that something far darker may still be hidden. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some secrets are never meant to see the light of day, and why some of them still haven't. Let's start with the most infamous program of them all, MK Ultra. And no, this isn't some Hollywood fiction. This was real, documented, and absolutely horrifying. In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approved a program with one goal: find ways to control the human mind. The official justification: the Cold War. The Soviets and Chinese were allegedly developing mind control techniques, and America needed to catch up. But here's where it gets dark. MK Ultra wasn't conducted in sterile government labs with willing volunteers. No, it was unleashed on unsuspecting American citizens, prisoners, mental patients, and even CIA employees who didn't know they were being experimented on. The methods included LSD administration. Subjects were given LSD without their knowledge. Imagine going about your day, drinking your morning coffee, and suddenly you're thrown into a psychedelic nightmare you never consented to. This happened in safe houses, bars, restaurants. The CIA even ran brothels in San Francisco and New York, where they dosed clients and watched through two-way mirrors. Then there was sensory deprivation. Patients were kept in complete darkness and silence for weeks. Others were placed in water tanks, isolated from all external stimuli until their minds began to break. Electroshock and drugs were also used extensively. Canadian psychiatrist Dr. Ewan Cameron received CIA funding to conduct psychic driving experiments. He put patients in induced comas for weeks, subjected them to electroshock therapy 30 to 40 times more powerful than standard treatment, and played recorded messages on loop for days. These weren't enemy combatants. These were people seeking help for depression and anxiety who became guinea pigs. In 1973, as Watergate consumed Washington and investigations intensified, CIA Director Richard Helms made a decision. He ordered all MK Ultra files destroyed, but he didn't get them all. In 1977, a Freedom of Information Act request unearthed 20,000 documents that had been misfiled. These revealed the scope of MK Ultra, 149 sub-projects involving at least 80 institutions including universities, pharmaceutical companies, and hospitals. But here's the critical question. What was in those destroyed files? We know about LSD and sensory deprivation because some records survived, but MK Ultra ran for 20 years. What methods were so extreme, so unethical, that even the CIA couldn't risk them becoming public? Former CIA officer John Marks spent years investigating MK Ultra. He concluded that the destroyed documents likely contained evidence of deaths caused by the experiments. Potentially successful mind control techniques that are still classified, the full extent of unwitting dosing on the public sea, and connections to other black programs that remain active. To this day, the CIA maintains that no effective mind control was achieved. But if that's true, why keep so much still classified? Now, let's shift to something that sounds like pure science fiction: the U.S. government's 20-year program to develop psychic spies. In 1975, during the height of Cold War paranoia, the CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency launched Project Stargate. The mission: use remote viewing, the supposed ability to see distant locations using only the mind, to spy on the Soviet Union. You heard that right? The Pentagon spent over $20 million trying to create psychic soldiers. Remote viewing sessions followed a protocol. A viewer would be given coordinates, nothing else, no context, no information. They'd enter a meditative state and describe what they saw. Meanwhile, a monitor would record everything, sketching images and noting details. The program recruited psychics, military personnel, and everyday citizens. They claimed some remarkable successes. In 1979, remote viewers allegedly located American hostages in Iran, describing the building layout with surprising accuracy. Viewers claimed to have detected a new class of Soviet submarine years before traditional intelligence confirmed it. When the US couldn't find Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega, remote viewers allegedly pinpointed his location. But here's where it gets weird. In 1995, Project Stargate was officially terminated. The CIA commissioned a review that concluded remote viewing had no actionable intelligence value. Case closed. Right? Not exactly. Former participants claim the shutdown was itself disinformation. Why? First, the timing. Stargate was shut down immediately after being exposed by investigative journalists. Convenient. Second, the evaluation. The CIA brought in 2 researchers to assess 20 years of work. They were given only a fraction of the data and less than 6 months to review it. Third, multiple participants have gone on record saying the program never actually stopped. It just went deeper into black budget territory. Even the declassified Stargate documents are heavily redacted. Entire sessions, viewer names, and specific operations remain classified. If remote viewing doesn't work, why keep it secret? Here's what we don't know. Did remote viewing produce intelligence that led to real-world operations? Are there classified successes that would vindicate the program? Is a version of this program still running today under a different name? Some researchers believe that the most successful remote viewing techniques are still classified because they actually work, and revealing them would expose a massive intelligence advantage. Others think the whole thing was a Cold War boondoggle, a waste of money chasing pseudoscience. But if it was all nonsense, why won't they declassify everything? Before Edward Snowden, before PRISM, there was Echelon. In the 1990s, journalists began reporting on a shadowy NSA program capable of intercepting every phone call, fax, and email on the planet. The idea seemed paranoid, dystopian, impossible. But it was real. Echelon was a global surveillance network developed by the Five Eyes Alliance, the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. It used satellites, ground stations, and underwater cables to vacuum up communications worldwide. And here's the terrifying part. It was completely automated. Imagine a system that scans billions of communications per day, searching for keywords, phrases, and patterns. Words like bomb, attack, president, specific names, locations. Anything flagged by the system was automatically recorded and analyzed. This wasn't just targeting terrorists or foreign adversaries. Echelon was used for economic espionage, spying on European companies to benefit American corporations. It was used to monitor political activists, journalists, and ordinary citizens. No warrant, no oversight, no transparency. For years, the NSA denied Echelon's existence. Then in 2000, the European Parliament released a report confirming it. The report detailed how Echelon intercepted private communications of European citizens and businesses. It recommended legal protections, stronger encryption, and investigations. The NSA's response, basically no comment. In 2013, Edward Snowden's leaks confirmed that Echelon was just the beginning. Programs like PRISM, X-Keyscore, and Mystic expanded mass surveillance to unimaginable levels. But here's what we still don't know about Echelon: the full list of keywords and search parameters. How much data was collected on American citizens domestically? What happened to the intercepted communications? Which companies and governments were primary targets? Whether Echelon is still operational under a different name? Declassified documents about Echelon are still heavily redacted. Entire sections are blacked out. Why? If this program ended decades ago, why can't we know the full truth? Because the truth is, surveillance never stopped. It evolved, and what we know is probably just the tip of the iceberg. In 1962, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking military officers in America, proposed something so disturbing that it sounds like a conspiracy theory, except it's documented fact. Operation Northwoods was a plan to commit terrorist attacks against American citizens and blame it on Cuba to justify a military invasion. Let me say that again. The U.S. military proposed killing Americans as a pretext for war. The plan included bombing U.S. ships in Guantanamo Bay, staging fake attacks on American cities, hijacking planes, creating fake casualty lists, even killing Cuban refugees and blaming Castro. This wasn't some rogue general's fever dream. This was an official proposal signed by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Lyman Lemnitzer. Fortunately, President John F. Kennedy rejected Operation Northwoods immediately. He was reportedly horrified. But here's what's chilling. The proposal made it all the way to the president's desk. That means multiple layers of military leadership approved it. After Kennedy's refusal, Lemnitzer was quietly reassigned to NATO. The documents remained classified until 1997, 35 years later. So here's what haunts researchers. If the military was willing to propose this in 1962, what other false flag operations were considered? Were any similar plans approved and executed? How close did Northwoods come to actually happening? Declassified versions of Operation Northwoods contain redactions. Even in a plan that was rejected and never executed, parts remain classified. What could possibly need to stay secret in a 60-year-old rejected proposal, unless it reveals something about operations that weren't rejected? Now we enter murkier territory. The Philadelphia experiment and Montauk Project are often dismissed as hoaxes, urban legends, and conspiracy theories. But here's the interesting part. Both stories have kernels of documented truth mixed with wild speculation, and the government's response has been inconsistent. The legend. In 1943, the USS Eldridge was rendered invisible using electromagnetic fields in an experiment gone wrong. Sailors were allegedly fused with the ship's structure, driven insane, or teleported. The truth? The Navy was experimenting with degaussing, making ships invisible to magnetic torpedoes. Declassified documents confirm this. But here's the odd part. The Navy has issued multiple denials over the decades, sometimes contradicting previous statements. If it's just a myth, why keep addressing it? Montauk is even stranger. The claim, Camp Hero, a decommissioned Air Force base in New York, was secretly used for time travel, mind control, and interdimensional experiments in the 1970s and 80s. Crazy, right? Except Camp Hero actually does have a bizarre history. It was a top-secret radar installation during the Cold War. The base officially closed in 1969, but locals reported strange activity for years after: lights, sounds, military vehicles. Declassified documents confirm ongoing classified research at the site long after its supposed closure. In 2002, the site was finally transferred to New York State Parks, but large sections of the underground facility remain sealed and off-limits. Why? What's down there that can't be shown 30-plus years later? The government says nothing unusual happened at Montauk, but they also won't fully declassify the base's activities or allow complete access to the facility. So what connects all these programs? MK Ultra, Stargate, Echelon, Northwoods, and countless others share a common thread: partial disclosure. The government admits these programs existed, releases some documents, but keeps the most critical information classified. Why? Maybe it's to protect intelligence methods that are still in use. Maybe it's to avoid legal liability for victims and their families. Maybe it's to prevent public outrage over unethical actions. Or maybe there are discoveries, techniques, and operations so sensitive that revealing them would fundamentally change what we think we know. Here's what keeps me up at night. These are the programs we know about, the ones that were exposed by accident, whistleblowers, or investigative journalists. How many programs never leaked? How many operations are running right now under such intense secrecy that we won't know about them for 50 years? The nature of classified programs is that the most successful ones remain invisible. Every major declassification has revealed that the reality was more extreme than the speculation. MK Ultra was worse than people imagined. Echelon was more extensive. Northwoods was more disturbing. So what's currently happening that will shock us in 2075? The truth is, we may never know the full story of these programs, but we can demand transparency, support whistleblowers, and question official narratives. If this video made you think, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's darkest secrets. Drop a comment. Which of these programs disturbs you most? Or is there another classified project you think I should cover? Remember, the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Just because something isn't declassified doesn't mean it isn't real. Some secrets are never meant to be revealed. The question is, why?